January 9th, 2022. The digital world holds its breath as an entire nation vanishes from the internet. Not a natural disaster, not a government-sanctioned blackout, but something far more insidious. North Korea, a country already shrouded in mystery, suddenly blinks offline. Government websites, propaganda portals, external email servers, all inaccessible. The global internet community erupts with speculation. Was this a coordinated strike by a rival superpower? A calculated response to Kim Jong-un's latest missile tests? As the digital dust settled, experts pointed fingers, whispering about a massive cyber attack. But the truth, as it often is in the shadowy world of cyber warfare, was stranger, more personal, and far more audacious than anyone could have imagined. Welcome to the Digital Sleuth, where we unravel the most captivating mysteries of the digital age. Today, we're diving deep into a real-life David and Goliath story. It's the tale of a solo hacker in pajamas with a grudge who brought an entire nation's internet to its knees. This isn't just a story of revenge. It's a chilling reminder of the fragility of our interconnected world. It's a stark illustration of how a single individual can wield power in ways previously unimaginable. This is the story of P4X, and it's a cybercrime documentary you won't soon forget. Our story begins a year earlier, in January 2021. An American cybersecurity researcher, known only by his online handle, P4X, sat at his desk. Picture him, the archetypal modern-day digital warrior, perhaps surrounded by multiple monitors displaying lines of code. But even the most prepared can fall victim to the cunning tactics of nation-state actors. One late night, P4X received a message. It was from another researcher, ostensibly offering a new, powerful hacking tool. Curious, but always vigilant, P4X opened the file in a secure virtual machine, a sandboxed environment designed to contain any potential threats, preventing them from infecting his primary system. Everything seemed normal at first, but within 24 hours, the digital world was rocked by a bombshell. Google's threat analysis group published a blog post exposing a sophisticated campaign by North Korean hackers. Their target? Western security researchers. Precisely individuals like P4X. These operatives were distributing booby-trap files designed to install backdoors and compromise systems. P4X's stomach must have dropped. He immediately re-examined the tool he had been sent, and there it was, hidden deep within the code, a sophisticated backdoor. This wasn't some random phishing attack from a petty criminal trying to steal a credit card number. This was a targeted, nation-state-sponsored operation. P4X, a private citizen, had been personally targeted by one of the most secretive and technologically advanced regimes on Earth. The attempt left him profoundly shaken. He soon learned he wasn't alone. This was part of a broader, aggressive campaign by North Korean operatives, specifically the infamous Lazarus Group. This state-sponsored collective is often attributed to major attacks like the 2014 Sony Pictures hack and the WannaCry ransomware outbreak. Their objective was clear: to steal hacking tools and vulnerability research from experts like P4X. In essence, Pyongyang's hackers were hunting the hunters, aiming to reverse engineer their defenses and gain access to new offensive capabilities. P4X, like many in his position, expected intervention. Surely, the U.S. government, seeing its citizens targeted by foreign cyber spies, would swoop in. An FBI agent did reach out to P4X, but only to take his statement. There was no follow-up, no offer of enhanced cybersecurity protocols for his systems, no swift retaliation against the perpetrators. Weeks turned into months. Silence. P4X felt abandoned, exposed. There's really nobody on our side, he concluded bitterly. He was a civilian, a hacker whose skills made him a target for a nation's intelligence agencies, and he felt utterly unprotected. That's when a seed of resentment began to take root. North Korea had struck at him in secret, violated his digital sanctuary, and seemingly gotten away with it, tangent-free. P4X, as we would soon learn, was not the forgiving type. As the months dragged on, that seed of resentment germinated and grew into an audacious plan. If the authorities wouldn't avenge this breach, then perhaps he would. The idea, at first, must have seemed almost insane. A one-man counterattack against the most isolated, heavily guarded regime on Earth. By the end of 2021, his mind was made up. He would strike North Korea himself. The question remained, could one man truly take down a country's internet without getting caught? P4X, now the hunter, began to quietly gather intelligence. His target, North Korea's minuscule sliver of the global internet. Few outsiders truly understood the digital landscape of the Hermit Kingdom. What P4X discovered amazed him. The country's internet presence was tiny, fragile, and utterly exposed. Only a handful of networks and a few dozen public-facing websites served the entire nation. It was a digital house of cards, propped up by aging software and remarkably sloppy security practices. To a seasoned hacker like P4X, it wasn't a fortress. It was full of unlocked doors and forgotten windows. Night after night, P4X scoured North Korea's systems from afar. He probed servers, tested vulnerabilities, virtually knocking on every digital door he could find. Before long, he found what he needed: vulnerabilities, and plenty of them. What was truly astonishing was that these weren't novel, previously unknown zero-day exploits. These were well-known, documented weaknesses that North Korean system administrators simply hadn't bothered to patch. We're talking old versions of Apache web servers, rife with publicly disclosed holes, and outdated Nginx web server bugs that could collapse a system with a simple, malformed header request. This is a common thread in many successful cyber attacks, from major phishing attacks to ransomware campaigns. For P4X, it was like North Korea had left its front gates wide open, waving a welcome flag for any opportunistic attacker. "It's pretty interesting how easy it was to actually have some effect in there," he noted later. The more he mapped out their network, the more his confidence grew. He could do this. P4X began to write custom scripts, code designed to automate the attacks. If one man was going to strike an entire country, automation was key. His code would systematically scan North Korean servers, identify which ones were online, and then hit them with precisely crafted exploits to overload or crash them. This wasn't a brute force assault. It was a denial-of-service attack with surgical precision. A digital guerrilla war targeting the weakest points. Every line of code was designed for one purpose: to knock North Korea off the global internet. As he prepared, P4X operated in absolute secrecy. He knew that taking vigilante action carried immense risks. If caught, he could face serious legal trouble under hacking laws. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, or CFAA, in the US, for instance, is notoriously broad and doesn't differentiate between hacking a criminal or a nation-state. Hacking is hacking in the eyes of the law, and the penalties can be severe. And then there was the terrifying prospect of North Korean retaliation. If they ever figured out who was behind the intrusions, he could become a very personal, very real target for reprisal. So, P4X took precautions. He adopted his pseudonym, P4X, pronounced Pax, a cheeky, almost ironic nod to enforcing peace through punishment. Under this alias, he could strike from the shadows. No real name, no identifiable face, just a faceless hacker delivering payback. By early 2022, the plan was ready. P4X sat at his computer, likely in that familiar uniform of t-shirt, pajama pants, and slippers. This ordinary-looking guy was about to embark on a not-so-ordinary mission. Taking down a country's internet, he double-checked his tools. The custom code was loaded onto his laptop and some rented cloud servers, designed to mask his true location and identity. His heart, no doubt, pounded with a mix of adrenaline and defiant conviction. After a deep breath, he launched the attack. With a few keystrokes, the data packets started flying. The code was running. The targets were set. But would it actually work? Or would it blow up in his face? In his quiet Miami home, P4X's monitors flickered as streams of data flooded out toward North Korea. At first, it must have felt anticlimactic. Just code running, no explosions, no immediate visual proof of impact. P4X, in a bizarre display of calm under pressure, queued up an alien movie on his TV to pass the time. He was munching on spicy corn chips, trying to act normal. But every few minutes, he'd pause the movie, shuffle to his home office, and check the attack's progress. Each time, the news got better. One by one, North Korean servers stopped responding. P4X pinged the country's handful of public-facing websites. Air Koryo's booking site? Down. Nayanara, the regime's official web portal? Down. The state news site? Down. Across the world, anyone trying to access North Korea online was met with error messages. Inside the secretive nation, officials suddenly found their external emails and web access cut off. North Korea had been knocked offline. Still, P4X wasn't celebrating yet. Could one person truly have done this? He checked an independent monitoring service, Pingdom, which tracks website uptime globally. The charts for North Korea's web domains showed a sea of red, outages everywhere. A veteran cybersecurity researcher, independently monitoring North Korean internet traffic, observed a massive, mysterious wave of attacks taking entire networks down. He was baffled, having no idea who was carrying them out. P4X must have grinned. It was working, and nobody had a clue that it was him. With each passing hour, the cyber onslaught continued. P4X's scripts relentlessly bombarded the vulnerable servers until they crashed, then moved on to the next target. North Korea's few connections to the outside internet were overloaded, its routers paralyzed. What he was doing was essentially a distributed denial-of-service attack, but highly focused. By the time he finally stopped for the night, practically every website in North Korea was down. An entire nation's online presence had been felled by a lone hacker at his keyboard. The next morning, news of North Korea's internet outage quietly spread among analysts and intelligence communities worldwide. It's not every day an entire country goes offline, especially one known for its cyber activities. Speculation ran rampant. Did U.S. Cyber Command or another state-backed hacker group take direct action? The timing was certainly suspicious, given the flurry of missile tests just days before. Some whispered that this must be a punitive cyber strike by a world power, a secret message telling Pyongyang to back off its saber rattling. North Korea's government, predictably, was silent. Inside the country, almost no ordinary citizens even realized the internet was down, as fewer than 1% of North Koreans can ever go online beyond their domestic intranet. The blackout was an embarrassment for the leadership, not a nationwide crisis. But abroad, among the small circle of North Korea watchers, the outage was big news. For several days in a row, nearly all of North Korea's handful of websites were unreachable. Tech forums and Twitter lit up with chatter. When some sites briefly came back online, they soon crashed again. It was as if someone was toying with the regime's connection to the outside world, flipping the switch off and on at will. Yet, no government claimed responsibility. Little did anyone suspect that the person holding North Korea's internet hostage was not a nation's cyber army at all, but a lone hacker at home. P4X watched this global guessing game quietly from behind his keyboard. He saw articles speculating on state-sponsored operations and undoubtedly laughed to himself. The world had no idea that this was a personal vendetta playing out in real time. For P4X, that confusion was part of the satisfaction. He didn't want fame or credit, not yet anyway. Staying in the shadows kept him safe, and as long as the regime didn't know who was hitting them, they couldn't hit back. Still, the longer the mystery went on, the more questions bubbled up. How long could one man keep this up? Was there a price for humiliating a nuclear-armed regime? By taking down North Korea's internet, P4X had made his point. He set out to annoy North Korea and show them there are consequences for messing with Western hackers, and he succeeded. I definitely wanted to affect the government as much as possible and the people as little as possible, he said later, his conscience clear. In his eyes, knocking out a few propaganda websites was like tearing down a dictator's billboards. Flushed with success, P4X decided he wouldn't stop at just temporary outages. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that his one-man operation could become something bigger. North Korea's hackers would undoubtedly continue targeting Western individuals if they remained unchecked. So, P4X raised the stakes. He planned to go beyond mere denial-of-service attacks. Next on his list, actually breaching North Korean systems, digging up secrets, and exposing sensitive information to the world. If simply shutting off their internet got the regime's attention, imagine the impact of stealing their data and revealing it. But P4X knew even he had limits alone. So, he quietly set up a covert website on the dark web, calling it the Funk Project, short for Fu North Korea. It was a rallying call for other like-minded hacktivists to join his cause. This is a project to keep North Korea honest, the site declared. He was effectively recruiting a team, aiming to multiply his firepower. Not everyone in the cybersecurity community applauded these rogue efforts. Some fellow researchers worried that P4X's vigilante justice might interfere with classified operations. What if U.S. or allied intelligence agencies had already infiltrated those same North Korean servers? P4X's noisy takedowns could trip up quiet espionage missions. Others, quite rightly, pointed out he was almost certainly violating the law. Hacking, even a hostile foreign power, is still illegal in the eyes of the U.S. government. And then there was the ever-present specter of North Korean retaliation. So, was P4X scared? Surprisingly, no. He was motivated by a powerful mix of anger and principle. North Korea's regime, he reasoned, commits outrageous cyber attacks and egregious human rights abuses. Operating with near impunity, he had decided someone had to push back. My conscience is clear. he said confidently. To him, exposing Kim's digital weakness and sending an unmistakable message was worth the risk. His message wasn't just for North Korea, though. It was also, subtly, for his own government. By going rogue, he hoped to shame U.S. authorities into recognizing the threat and protecting individuals like him in the future. If no one else will defend against these attacks, P4X decided he would, and he'd make sure everyone knew it could be done. As for how far he'll go, when asked what the endgame is, P4X chuckled. Regime change? No, I'm just kidding. He insists he's not trying to topple governments, just to prove a point. He vowed to keep hammering North Korea's networks until that point is unmistakably made. So far, no law enforcement has knocked on his door, and North Korea hasn't publicly figured out who he is. The first shots of this one-man cyber war have been fired. P4X stands unpunished, unidentified, and unbowed. His fight continues in the shadows, leaving a repressive regime looking over its shoulder. The story of P4X is captivating, but it's also a powerful reminder of the ever-present dangers in our digital lives. While most of us won't be targeted by nation-state actors, the tactics used by North Korea against P4X and his own methods of defense and offense offer crucial lessons for everyday cybersecurity. This cybercrime documentary wouldn't be complete without some practical takeaways. P4X was targeted with a booby-trapped file, which is a classic phishing technique. Always be suspicious of attachments or links from unknown senders, or even unexpected ones from people you know. Ransomware, malware, and credential theft often start this way, so always verify the sender. P4X saved himself by opening the malware in a secure virtual machine. For anyone dealing with potentially risky files or testing new software, a VM creates an isolated environment, protecting your main system. And remember, North Korea's internet was vulnerable because of unpatched, outdated software. This is perhaps the single most important cybersecurity protocol for you to follow. Enable automatic updates for your operating system, web browser, and all applications. Major security reports consistently show that many successful hacks exploit known vulnerabilities that have available patches. Also, strong, unique passwords and multi-factor authentication are foundational. Financial fraud mechanics often rely on compromised credentials, so always enable MFA wherever possible. It's an extra layer of defense that makes it significantly harder for attackers to gain access, even if they steal your password. Lastly, understand the dark web. P4X used it for his project, but for most, the dark web is a dangerous place where stolen identities, financial data, and hacking tools are openly bought and sold. Recognize that your personal information, if compromised in a data breach, could easily end up for sale there. P4X's story is a testament to individual defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. It highlights the vulnerabilities that exist even within seemingly impenetrable digital walls and the profound impact a single individual can have. It also serves as a critical warning for all of us. The digital realm is a battlefield, and vigilance is our greatest defense. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the digital underbelly. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and never stop questioning the digital world around you. This has been the Digital Sleuth, signing off.